Welcome to Patrick's Scale Studio. My name's Patrick. I'll be your host. So this is going to be a surprise visit, probably the first of a couple of surprise visits from USS Stevens DD-479 in 1/200 scale by Trumpeter. The oddest thing happened the other day. I walked into my office and I heard some sobbing, some crying. So I look all over the place for it, and there in the corner I find USS Stevens in the corner crying her eyes out, just because she's felt neglected with all the 1/350th builds that I've got going on. No, actually that's not really true. I just kind of looked up at the shelf and I'm like, kind of would like to get that a little bit, more in progress. So where we're at now, well, I'll put this aside. If you've watched Fletcher, you know enough about the build of a Fletcher class in 1/200 scale. If you haven't watched the builds, I highly recommend it. So there is USS Stevens right now. These aren't glued down or anything like that, but we've got our hull painted, not weathered or anything like that yet. And much like Fletcher, when Stevens had the airplane catapult, that was very early in her career, and that configuration did not last very long before the catapult was removed and she was outfitted like every other Fletcher class destroyer. But still has a round bridge. But she does not have a black boot stripe because I looked at some historical photos. I'll post one up here now. And as you can see, there is no black boot stripe on the hull. So she is painted accordingly. I have also decided to come up with my own mixes for navy blue 5N and the deck blue 20B. And you kind of see what those are. And might not be 100% accurate, but it's what looks good to me, to my eye. Might not be coming through properly on the camera. Now it is going to be a bit of a darker build, just because of the darker colors for the deck and the vertical surfaces. But I'm going to put that aside and we'll talk a little bit about the aftermarket here that we're going to be putting into this. So one, I've got a set of 3 printed propellers. Let me zoom in here real quick. Alright, and actually this time I'm going to go ahead and start breaking these out of the support structure here. So, go ahead and get some clippers. Now, I'll show you what these look like in comparison to the kit parts. And then we'll talk about where these came from. And where you can also get a set if you would like some more accurate propellers for a 1/200 scale Fletcher build. Alright, so there are propellers, and you're thinking, what's the big deal? Well, if we look at the kit propellers here, these propellers are a bit smaller. You look at the thickness of the propeller blades, they're definitely thinner. The little bullet-shaped cone that ties the blades together is a little bit thinner, a little bit more streamlined and sharp versus what you've got in the kit. These are more accurate. Bottom line, these are much more accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and get these pulled from the supports and get them primed and then painted in like a kind of a brassy kind of bronze color. I think that'll look nice. I put those aside. Put this aside. More aftermarket here from my Fletcher build. Ben from, by the way, let me go ahead and discuss that real quick before I put these away. These are from themidwestmodelshop.com. And I would say 99% of the photo etch I'm going to be using on Stevens is from there. Same thing with the Fletcher. When I was doing the Fletcher, Ben sent me a Mark 37 Fire Director set. It came in a set of 4, and that's it right there. There is no fiddly photo etch or any kind of building up or anything like that. All I do is I separate this from the supports and glue it down on the base plate that comes with the kit, and it's ready and good to go. Also, themidwestmodelshop.com. I had a couple leftover twin Bofors cannons from another set he sent me for Fletcher. This was the stock gun set for Fletcher, and it comes with twin Bofors, I think it's a Mark 15 fire director for those, and 7 20mm Oerlikons. So Oerlikons right there. It was great, very fantastic, well detailed, very easy to use. Same thing with the twin Bofors. So I've got enough leftover parts from the Mark 37 fire director and the stock gun set to be able to use twin Bofors in that Mark 37. Also, from the same place, I've got some of these oval shaped Carly floats. That aside, and something I was kind enough to send me here to use would be the 5-inch gun set for a Fletcher class destroyer. You can see there's 5 of them. USS Stevens only requires 4 because while she had the aircraft catapult, there wasn't enough room for all 5. But I'll definitely be making good use of 4 of these on USS Stevens. And as you can see, I've got these little rails here that are omitted in the Trumpeter kit, and they've got the blast bags right there. And the shape is, as you can see, a little bit thinner. This is actually more accurate to the Fletcher class destroyers and these 5-inch guns for that period than Trumpeter has them modeled in the kit. And I think Trumpeter just does that so they, they're wider and fatter, so they can accommodate the the mechanism for the gun to be able to move up and down if you want to do that. It's a model. It's not really a toy, though. And then the last thing here we've got that's going to go on to this is the supplemental part set for a Fletcher class destroyer. So we've got a couple of ship's boats inserts that go on there. Empty depth charge rack or full depth charge rack, and we've got separate depth charges back here. We also have ladders and more ladders right here. On some of the Trumpeter parts of the superstructure or deck houses, there are molded in ladders, and it just like a really thin little line, and they only pop out with a wash. If you don't put a wash on, you're never going to see them. So it's nice to be able to, we'll be able to shave those off and replace those with these. We've got the torpedo directors right here, and we've got the searchlights. We've got the 5-inch practice gun or practice loader. We got some more of these cable reels, battens, and a winch right there. And then there's also some floater baskets back here. So I'm not sure yet where I'm going to utilize those. I'm going to look to see if Stevens would have had any of those and where they would be appropriate to put on the ship. But again, all of that photo etch is from themidwestmodelshop.com. I really encourage you to go out there, go to that website and have a look and see what he's got to offer. There are sets in there for Fletchers, sets in there for Arizona, for Enterprise, and for Titanic. And those are in 1/200 scale, but he does have some 1/350th stuff as well. One thing I'm waiting on is, since Stevens has 8 of these 20mm Oerlikons, I went ahead and ordered a set of 50 from Ben at the Midwest Model Shop. And when those come in, I will kind of showcase how those are printed up and how easy they are to get out of the sports and everything like that. The last bit of photo etch I'm going to put in here is from HS Models, and it is a little bit more of an accurate anchor set. The anchors aren't really concerning to me except for just this lower portion of the anchor. Not really going to be a lot of the shank or any of the clevis or any of that scene. But the biggest part of that for me is the chain that comes in that set. As you can see, it is a studded anchor chain. So 1/200 scale should be using studded anchor chains versus what they supply in the kit, which really looks like nothing more than a fancy copper-toned jewelry thing you get at the mall. But that's it for the initial discussion here. As we make a little bit more progress and start getting some of this stuff slapped on, we'll come back here and have a look. I don't want this video to seem like a commercial for the Midwest Model Shop, but for the most part, I have used Ben's 3D printed detailed parts almost exclusively both on Fletcher and now on Stevens. The only things really that I'm putting into here that did not come in the kit or from Ben is the HS Models anchor set with the anchor chains. And it's because it's got a studded anchor chain and it's in scale and it looks nice. But I did want to call attention to Ben's Parts, again, the Midwest Model Shop, and just kind of show you what you get up close as far as detail goes. So, for instance, if we take a look at the twin Oerlikon cannon, nice and close. And I'll point out a couple things here. You get the seats, you get the foot pedals, you get the sights there for it. All of the loading and everything like that is already built in. You just get the hoses on there, as you can see those right there. You get the railing that goes around it, and that is all in one piece. And I only need one of these for Stevens. And he sent the stock Fletcher set, or stock gun set for Fletcher. It had several of these on there. So luckily I needed one, and only one for Stevens. So this is what I'm going to go with. As you can see, it is just absolutely beautiful, and the detail is exquisite. So what we get from Trumpeter, and not bad, okay? Not by any means. It's not bad. It's sights there, there's seats and the pedals and the barrels and the railing and photo etch right there. But it's not as good as what you get from the Midwest Model Shop. So, and better yet, and some of you may or may not like this, there are some folks out there that enjoy parts counts and the challenge that goes with putting together a large number of pieces and then possibly even scratch building their own little detail to go into what a kit provides. But as you can see, and this is without the photo etch railing, there are 7 pieces to this twin Oerlikon, or did I say twin Oerlikon? I mean Bofors, twin Bofors. 7 pieces. So if you are not a giant fan of high parts count, or you really are indifferent about the parts count, then and you like the detail, I would definitely recommend going with the Midwest Model Shop. In the supplemental parts here, I'm going to be using the racks of depth charges here with the depth charges in there already. And so again, he designed this and got this printed out, and I got 2 of them. And it includes parts that you don't get in the kit. There's detail you do not get in the kit. So you can see it's really nice. I have separated a lot of the supports into just having the supports that will be touching places where the part actually contacts the ship. And that's so that while it's here in place on its support platform, I can prime it and paint it. Now the kit gives you get the 2 rails, and you get the depth charges all as in one part. I haven't cleaned these up. It's not terrible. It really is not terrible. It's pretty thin plastic parts. They go together okay. I've had some difficulty getting the depth charges to fit in there last time with Fletcher, so I'm not even going to attempt to do it this time. But, you know, just as far as things go here, this is in a separate Mark 37 fire director set. You can see one of the little supports fell out. So that right there is, once you get it, it's all in one piece. All the supports are taken off. But again, one piece. Whereas what you get out of Trumpeter is 3 plastic pieces and a couple of photo etch pieces. And the assembly is a little fiddly, and it is not as well detailed. Same thing here with the practice the 5-inch practice loader. Came out of the supplemental parts, and put right next to it what comes in the kit. And he also provides some comparisons on his website. Now there are missing a couple of pieces of photo etch that go on this, but again, if you just kind of look at this, it is almost like a completely different system than what the kit is representing. So, some other comparisons here will be real quick. Again, I really don't mean for this to sound like a commercial. The difference isn't that drastic, but his parts look better. So, if you get the Fletcher propeller set, one thing I do recommend is take a lot of care cutting these out. These propeller blades are so super thin. I mean, they're almost translucent. So just take super care cutting them out. All right, and then the last thing here about the Midwest Model Shop is I'm going to show you how things get packaged here. I've ordered a lot of other upgrade part sets in the past, in the history of modeling. Some are good, some are bad. You can get some photo etch sets sometimes that have, despite what it says on the package, do not bend. They're folded in 5 different ways. Or you get some 3D print parts and it looks like someone intentionally stomped on them. But his parts come like this. These nice little boxes. Everything's covered up there address-wise. It's all in bubble wrap. And it's not moving. So you take this. There's barely any movement or shifting in there at all. Open that up, bubble wrap, and then you get the cage. And this is a set of 50 Oerlikon cannons. And the turnaround time on this from ordering to delivery, I believe it was 4 days. And that's even using the US Postal Service. So impressive for Ben and impressive for a postal service. But well packaged. Everything is in one piece as it's supposed to be and in good shape. So I'll be making use of 8 of these for Stevens. After that commercial break, we turn back to our regularly scheduled programming. And actually not really, so regularly scheduled, huh? At any rate, this is Stevens right now as she sits. We've got the decals on the hull, front and back. These decals are actually from 2 different sets. I don't recall what they are. I just had them floating around in the spares bag, so I grabbed them because they don't have the shadow. World War II hull numbers on naval ships did not have the shadow. They were just plain white numbers, at least on the destroyers. And then we got the decals put on the deck. For whatever reason, it's actually showing up a lot better on camera than in person. If you were looking at these decals in person, you might be saying to yourself quietly, what was the point? But they're there. Great decals as far as being really super thin, and they just kind of blend in. There's almost virtually no carrier film to speak of or anything like that, and a little bit of a clear coat again is going to make it completely go away. The only issue with it being so thin was they were tough to get into place. They wanted to fold and buckle, especially around this back part. Right here, getting to sit down over that hump because it kept bringing the rest of it out of alignment. Trying to get all the holes lined up, but again, they look great. If you get them in place, they look fantastic. Another example of very difficult decal. Now that's all one piece. And you can see the decal even goes into the recesses there of these gun tubs behind these splinter shields. And yeah, it did not lay down very easily at all. But now that it's down, it looks brilliant. All right, moving on here. after all the hull details, and the only thing we did not do in page 3 was attach the 2 propellers. I like to dirty up the hull before I put these guys on there, so we're going to put those aside until later on. And this is not a whole step-by-step build series. This is just kind of a quick down and dirty. Need something else to do in between 1/350th scale build so I don't go cross-eyed. And, you know, Ben at the Midwest Model Shop producing all these parts for this kit and get to try some of them out. Wanted to be sure that I did this on camera and gave everything its due as far as going into place. So these right here are all kit parts except for let me get some tweezers so I can pick it up without breaking it. Here we go. Except for this fire director. Alright, way better than the kit. You can probably see that if we get the thing to focus, but it's also in that really dark, almost sea blue color here. It is the my mix of, let me see what it's called. My mix of navy blue 5N. The sea blue is just too dark all on its own. It almost looks black. And I know that that really looks very, very dark, but that is lighter, believe it or not. But that right now is the only thing from the Midwest Model Shop that we're putting on during this step. And some of the pieces here need to get cut out of the sprue. I got them pre-painted. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting things in place here. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit. Page 4 is all complete, so we're moving on to page 5. Start with up here, and then we'll move down to here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and speed things up here a little bit, so this doesn't take forever. Alright, despite what it looks like, this is actually still not going to be a full step-by-step build. Skipped over page 6 because I put all of these on before I even painted everything. I liked the look of it a lot better when they were painted as already being glued down in part of the hull. So that is done. Just moving on to page 7 and step 10 here. I think I talked about it, I touched on it earlier in that we've got these HS models anchors in 1/200 scale for destroyers. As you can see, this is what it looks like right here. We don't need all of that, and in fact all of that won't really fit, so cut it off the shank right there, and we'll pop those in real quick. Let's go ahead and do so. Satisfying snap of resin, right? So go ahead and put this right up here, and in fact, loose glue lid. Not a good thing on a modeling bench. If you've ever had the experience of loose glue lids and fast movements, I mean, it's like moving fast in front of a sketchy feral dog. It usually doesn't end up well. So, all right, I've got a little bit of medium CA glue here. Toothpick, and there we go, right there. And then we take one of our already primed and painted HS models 1/200 scale destroyer anchors and get them into place. And I like it. It's not going to go anywhere. So go ahead and do the same on the other side here. And I'm talking funny because I got the one end of the toothpick in my mouth. I don't like laying down toothpicks with CA glue on it because, much like open caps on glue bottles, microset and microsol bottles and whatnot, just free-floating toothpicks with uncured CA glue, another not good thing. Alright, got our anchors in place. I like it. So we'll move this CA far out of the way, and got some delicate parts here. I've already primed and painted quite a bit of the parts on this. Just some other pieces like some photo etch and things like that still have to get bent up. Well, that was Woody. Sorry for the interruption. That was Woody letting us know in no uncertain terms that he also heard the ring camera going off. Alright, so what I did here is got two fairly decent sized lengths of this chain that came with those anchors. I don't need very much of it, but I still like the look of it because it's studded anchor chain. And see what I mean here when I hold it up? See a little crossbar right there on every link. You can really only get this in resin. You can't get it in metal at this scale. So I like it because it is true to real naval anchor chain, and I got two decently long lengths of it. What that'll allow me to do is continue using it on 1/200 scale models until it's all used up. So what I got to do is, when I'm ready to use it, carefully measure out exactly how much is going to go in there. Something tells me I'm going to need this. An upcoming kit that I've pre-ordered here and I'm waiting on. The name escapes me right now, but I'm sure that this chain will come in handy then too, because it is a Trumpeter kit, so more likely than not it's going to have the copper metal chain that accompanies all Trumpeter kits that is not studded. And HS models, they are not inexpensive upgrade sets. If you've purchased any of them, you know what I mean. Alright, so let's get rid of that, and I'm going to get a little bit of a fresh CA glue here. With it being so hot and moist outside, it really adds to the speed at which this CA glue cures. So I have sharpened up one end of this toothpick. My viewers in the UK and other parts of the world call it a cocktail stick. And I'm just going to feed a link. Just a single link in there. I really just wanted to kind of get caught, and that CA glue just cure up, and we'll be done with that. And I'm going to put a little bit here on the bow end of that. And feed this in. Come on. There we go. Anchor chain installed. And then the second one. This one here actually is going to start on the back side. And I'm gonna do that off camera. Anchor chains are on, and the sketchy part here about step 11, we've done this once before with Fletcher, is that going on. So let's go ahead. And yeah, we do have air conditioning, and you'd think that with the aid of air conditioning, things wouldn't be so wet and hot and moist. But it just is what it is. So that it doesn't cost us a small fortune every month. We don't have the air conditioning going to where it's a nice balmy 70 degrees inside. Oh. So we still get very hot and humid conditions inside. And I mean, we're still talking in 75, 76 degrees. It's not that's not terrible. And personally, having spent a little bit of time overseas in a much hotter climate, I'm a little bit more used to it, I think, than my family. Alright, well, that is in place. It is just dying to be broken off. I can already hear it. It's like daring me to break it off. got a little bit more extra thin. That's gonna cure up for a while. And if I could, I would put giant yellow police caution tape around it. Don't cross this line or what have you. But doing that in and of itself would probably knock it down. So moving into the next step and looking at a bunch of davits. I've already got painted up, waiting for them to dry, and we've got this back fair lead here with a, I think that's like a little stern light here. That's already painted up too and ready to go. So once we get everything in place, we'll get that knocked out and call it a wrap on this video for Stevens. Well, I think that's going to do it here for this video here. We got everything I wanted to do on this, and again, really, I can't say it enough, not a step-by-step full build on this one right now. This is just kind of a model that I'm trying to have fun with and do kind of on my own. If I get some on camera though, that's fantastic. But I'm sure by the next time we see USS Stevens pop up, everything here is going to be done. And we'll probably have quite a bit of the deck houses and bridge and superstructure built up. But when all that goes on there, we will do a fantastic job of pointing out a lot of those detail parts that we are going to be including that are not in the kit. For instance, you got some of these 20mm Oerlikons separated from their supports and temporarily CA glued to this little stick, so I can get them primed and painted. Also got a contender for the world's worst photo etch pieces ever. 6 of these all done up. They're just really super thin and fragile, and they want to bend every which way but the right way. But did get all 6 of those done. The smoke screen canister still got to go on there. A lot of stuff still got to get primed. But again, this build is kind of for me, just to kind of enjoy on my own. But before I sign off, I do want to say, on Tuesday we had to put my cat Sherman to sleep. It's been a very, very difficult week for us, and we only found out on Sunday that he had lymphoma. I made a post about it, and a bunch of you had commented, and you know, I got some likes on that post, and for the most part, I've really never met any of you in person, and the outpouring of compassion and sympathy just was really, really very touching. I can't thank you all enough. Well, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close this one up. Till I see you next time on Stevens, stay safe, happy modeling.